Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Happy Hour brought to you by NAP. We are the National Association of Adoptees and Parents, where it is our mission to unify the adoption community and elevate our diverse voices by promoting dialogue, understanding, and healing through education, awareness, and connections. I'm Marcie Keithley, Board President and host for this evening. So we're just glad that so many of you joined us tonight. If you would please give a shout out to Danielle in the chat room where you're from. I know she'd appreciate that. We just a couple of announcements we're going to do, just like Jen said, we're going to do our announcements first because she may have to pop off. We want to remind everyone this is a public meeting with no guarantee that information or identity is confidential. Portions of this event are recorded and may be shared in our private happy hour group on Facebook. So for those that registered tonight and for whatever reason can't make it, they can go back to our Adoption Happy Hour private Facebook group and watch the replay when Jen posts it. We want you to remain on mute throughout. You're welcome to use the chat bar. We will wrap up around 8 o'clock and open it up for a Q&A. Okay, Jen, you've got some more slides for me.
Okay. We have two events coming up that we want to make sure that you are abundantly aware of. Like I said, we're doing a mini meetup, and this is just around the corner from where I am right now. It's at Indiana's 4th State Park, Spokane State Park. It is September 30th and October 1st. And we would love it if you're in the area and can join us. It's going to be very low key and relaxing. We're going to be feeding you well. There's lots of activities to do. And let me bring up who we've got speaking. And so we have not only Dr. Joyce doing containing trauma, we've got Cynthia Rounds McGowan on Oh Good Grief, and she is a certified grief counselor. And then I think you've probably all met him in here or other events of ours, Oliver, and then his wife, Melissa. They're doing a session on managing identity. And then our own Barbara Robinson is doing kind of like the kickoff on Friday before we do a live happy hour. So that Friday, if you join us for happy hour and you can't be in Northeastern Indiana, we will be coming live with a live studio audience. So if you're able to come, we would love to see you there because we miss seeing everybody in real life. And then Marcie, you want to tell them about our big deal that we're doing with Right to Know?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we're going to be talking about these two events that we're super excited about. This is again March 30 through April 1st in 2023. It's the first of its kind. NAP will be partnering with the Right to Know. This is a summit uniting the adoption, assisted conception, and non-paternal event communities into one amplified voice. And this is, again, this is really morphing into be a huge event here in my backyard in Louisville, Kentucky. At the Marriott, we're going to have panels and workshops and speakers and authors and podcasters and entertainment, and it's just going to be a great time. And we know that so many of you will want to attend this event, so mark your calendars. We'll be, we are accepting workshop proposals at this time until July 31st, which is right around the corner. We've been inundated with lots of wonderful proposals. This is going to be tough to narrow this down, but if you have it and submit it and you're interested in doing so, we do have our own Facebook group, Untangling Our Roots, and there's a portal there and you can just submit online. So we hope so many of you will mark your calendars and plan to attend.
And I would say we're really pleased. I mean, does everybody know who this guy is?
But we don't, there he is.
Can you guess his identity? Do you know? If this is like the biggest hunt for a stolen baby in U.S. history, but this is Paul Franczak. He is our main speaker, but we also have other speakers that are coming from Australia, the UK. So, I mean, it's turning into a really big deal. So, I've talked to Paul through social media before, but I'm excited we get to meet him. So,
yeah, we're really excited. It's going to be something. So,
and then we're really excited about next Friday as well, because
yes.
ta-da,
Ta-da.
it's Mimi.
Where is Mimi?
And Mimi, I want to give a plug, not only for you for next week, but do you want to tell them about what's coming up in Tampa in October, if anybody's in that area?
Yeah, I'm not on the board or anything, but I don't have it in front of me, but the Cub Retreat is coming up in Tampa in October. I'll see if I can find it really quick. I got an email this morning. And it's our annual Cub Retreat. And hold on, let me see if I can find, sorry.
I think it's like the 14th, 15th, and 16th in Tampa.
That sounds familiar, but
I just figured as past president, you had that right.
I should know this stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right. The 14th through the 16th in Tampa.
Yeah. And they just sent out like early registration for Cub members. If you're a member of Cub, it's $220 for the retreat. And well, gosh, I'm sorry, guys. I wasn't prepared to like talk about
I'll drop the link in. I'll drop the link in.
But we've been having Cub retreats for, annually for gosh, I couldn't even tell you how many years. 30 years probably. And it's always a really, really healing weekend. We make it, we call it a retreat because we want everybody to kind of have the same experience by having general sessions instead of breakout sessions. And we have usually two sessions a day. Also, there's support groups later in the afternoon. There is usually special events that they're having, in the evenings. We've done plays, we've, had special music guests. We've done karaoke before. We just try to do something to unwind and have a good time. It's a very healing, kind of intimate weekend, and everybody has the same experience. Everybody is listening to the same thing, and there's plenty of time to just kind of hang out with people too, and get to know each other and share our experiences. And it's always been really welcomed, and we get really good responses from it. So if you're able to be in Tampa in October, that would be awesome.
Thank you, Mimi. Yeah, Jennifer and I were fortunate last October to come out to LA and attend, and it was just wonderful. It was just
great. Yeah, we
were so fortunate to be able to make the time, and we came out a little bit early and did a little bit of sightseeing, but it was just a wonderful time. And yeah, if you're in the Florida area or you've never been to a conference before, that is one you definitely want to attend. So again, that's the Concerned United Birth Parents. That's in Tampa, Florida, October 14th through the 16th. And Jen put the link in our chat room. So I think that's all the announcements for now. And so we can go. I would like to, at this time, welcome our guest, Danielle Gaudette. Welcome, Danielle, to Happy Hour.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here.
Nice. So excited to have you. What I'd like to do is start out with and just share a little bit about you with our attendees this evening. So I'm just going to read just a little bit. Danielle has been writing poetry and short stories since she was 6 years old. She graduated from the University of Iowa, where she continued her study of creative writing. Her Healing Tree blog can be found at daniellegaudette.com. After finding her true self in 2000, she took time to explore her inner world and work to help others to do the same. As a 20-year trainer and coach in body and brain principles and practices, she currently works in Seattle as the regional director of Washington Body and Brain Centers. She cares deeply about honesty, transparency, and making sure people feel safe, encouraged, empowered to go within themselves to face their pain and hardships. She believes that in doing so, they will be able to uncover the strength and wisdom to heal their inner wounds and create themselves anew. This is how she lives her life. She practices facing her own wounds and has found that in doing so, she is brought closer to her true self. She shares her story in Healing Tree to help others finding courage to go inward, the courage to heal their hearts. Her passion is to continue to awaken herself to the true principles of the universe and to help others awaken as well. She feels that with every person who chooses to do their own inner work, we are lifting the collective heaviness, fear, resentment, and darkness, and we are brightening humanity together. It's beautiful, beautifully written. Thank you and welcome. So let's hear all about your journey, how you got here. Let's talk a little bit about your story.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, thank you everybody for coming. It's really an honor. It was such an honor for me to meet Marcie. So happy to meet her and be invited here to talk to you. And yes, I just wrote this memoir. So I've been thinking about my story and writing about my story and rewriting about my story for a long time now. But basically, let's see. So my adoption story is that I was born in Manhattan, New York, and I was adopted 10 days later by my adoptive parents who raised me in Boston, Massachusetts. So I grew up right outside of Boston, Watertown, Massachusetts. And my mother and father who raised me were incredibly kind and simple and loving and warm people. And I was very, very close to them, and especially very close to my mother. But one thing that I suffered from a very early age was that my adoptive mother struggled with kind of severe anxiety and depression, which really sort of came out when I was around 6 years old. So from the time of 6 years old, she started to get like worse and worse and worse. So that was hard in my growing up, but I was very close with them. And when I was 4 years old, we adopted my sister, Renee. I think I must have been 5 because she was 8 months when we adopted her. And so there we were, a little family unit growing up in Watertown, Massachusetts. One hand was a very simple life. On the other hand was a very dramatic life because my mother's illness caused a lot of drama in the house. And I guess I had a kind of healing spirit ever since I was little because I always tried to help her and take care of her. But even amidst that struggle, I didn't think too much about my birth mother. I didn't long for my birth parents or some other life. I was totally in love with my mother and father. I had extreme loyalty and trust to them. And that's how we went on. So I knew that I was adopted. They raised me knowing that I was adopted. And the only information they gave me was that, and I think I must have been I knew I was adopted since I was little, but I must have been around maybe 10, 9, when my mother started to tell me that my biological mother was an actress. And the reason why she gave me up for adoption was because she was pursuing her career. And so that's what I knew. And I didn't really I don't remember there being any much concern about that or extreme interest. If anything, it was a curiosity. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I always kind of felt like, oh, someday it'll be nice to know like who that person is or what that person looks like. I think somewhere in the back of my mind. And then that little feeling grew as I got older and went to college, especially because, well, it started when I was younger, but as I got, older and traveled, and people were always asking me, where are you from? And, what's your heritage? And then of course I didn't know anything. And that, I think, was what bothered me the most. That was the hardest thing for me. I don't know what I am. Everybody seems to know. Everybody's talking about it. And it's a big thing, especially for my friends in high school. It was a big thing, what they inherited from their mother and their father. And I was always just out of that conversation, just no idea. So, because of course it was a closed adoption and I didn't have any information about her. But I was always told that when I was 18, I could reunite with I could search for her if I wanted to. But when I was 18, I was leaving high school, I was going to college, and it was very emotional time. It was hard to leave my parents. I had a strong attachment to them. So I wasn't thinking about it. But later in my, after I transferred to a different college. I transferred from the University of New Hampshire to the University of Iowa. And I started to stabilize more when I was in Iowa. So I was a pretty emotional girl, to say the least. I was emotional and sensitive anyway. And then growing up in a house like that, I was even more emotional and sensitive. And I was pretty anxious and wound up in life in general. But I felt like I stabilized a little when I got to Iowa. And I think once my life became more stabilized, I started to get more curious. And I really just wanted to have pictures. Like, where did this face come from? That was my big curiosity. That's what I wrote about in my book. Where did my blood come from? If I could just have some pictures, some information, it would be great. So I wrote a letter to the Catholic Charity Bureau in Manhattan, because that's where I was adopted through. And they wrote back actually right away, fairly quickly. And they said that all my files were burned in a fire. But they said I could write to the state of New York. So actually, honestly, I was not involved very much in the adoption community, but now that I am getting to know about it more, I understand sort of some parts of this, what was happening at that time. But anyway, they said, write a letter to the state of New York. So I did right away, and I put it in the mail. And this was my beginning of my junior year of college, and I was about to go abroad for the next semester to Ireland. So I wrote my return address to be at my parents' house in Boston for when I returned. I figured I'll deal with it when I get back from my travels. And so basically that's exactly what I did. I came back. I asked my father if I had gotten any mail. He said yes. And he gave me a letter. I opened it up, and actually I really, really want to read this chapter for you, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about it anyway. I opened it up, and in it was a letter from the state of New York saying, even though you were born in New York, you were adopted through Massachusetts courts, so we can't help you. But we're including a brochure for a company called the International Soundex Reunion Registry. And they said, if you become a member of this organization and one of your birth parents is a member, then this company, this organization will connect you. So I was like, okay, sure. And so I did, and I sent it. And it was just 2 weeks later, I got a call. So as I'm listening to so many adoptee stories now, as I'm in more adoption communities, I'm realizing my story was that I kind of knocked on the door with curiosity, and then the door went like swinging, flying open, and I kind of fell on my face, is sort of what happened. Because 2 weeks later, I got this phone call. I'd really love to read you that chapter if you're interested in it. I'll share with you who my biological mother is, and then what that experience was like for me, because that was a really life-changing experience. And then after that, there was a huge unraveling mentally for me. That was my journey. So I was 21 years old at that time. And it was like, I was okay until I was emotional. I was sensitive. I was dealing with my mother's illness. But after that, my mental health really unraveled, and the struggle as an adoptee began for me after reuniting with my biological mother. For some reason, this wound that I wasn't aware that I had, like, opened. And then through trying to have a relationship with her since then, so that was 24 years ago, feels like the pain of that wound has been more in my face in trying to have that relationship with her. It's been a long, long, long journey of trying to heal that and get underneath that. And of course, it was a lot of work for me to open my heart to be able to have the relationship. I mean, basically, I'm a loving person and I wanted to connect with her. She wanted to connect with me, so I wanted to connect with her, but it wasn't easy. Yeah, there was a lot of hurt inside that I experienced.
What was that first call like?
Yeah, so can I read that chapter?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Are you interested? Okay.
Share that with them.
This is my only child, so it's very precious for me to read this to you. So here we go. I'll read it for you. Okay, it's called The Phone Call. And you have a little bit of the backstory now. So here we go. As planned, I returned to Watertown, Massachusetts for the summer of 1998 to stay with my parents until school started again. One morning, while I was sitting at the kitchen table eating a bowl of Cheerios, the letter popped back into my mind. Hey, Daddy, did I get any mail from the state of New York while I was gone? My father, the rock-solid, reliable keeper of all things important, was bustling around the house preparing to leave for work. He hurried over to the dining room table, the well-known family file cabinet, where only he knew the perfect order to the madness of it all, and began ruffling through a giant pile of papers. After a moment, he came back to the kitchen and handed me a sealed envelope. Here you go, honey. The letter went something like this. Even though you were born in New York State, you were adopted through Massachusetts courts, so we cannot help you. We have included a brochure for the International Soundex Reunion Registry. Fill out the form to become a member. If either of your birth parents are members, this organization will connect you. Interesting, I thought. I filled out the form, stuffed it in an envelope, and handed it to my father, stamped, that very morning, asking him to mail it for me on his way to work. I did so thinking this was just another piece in an extensive puzzle, and it would probably be another 5 years before I'd hear anything more. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in a recliner by the big picture window, waiting for a taxi. I was heading across town to a little sandwich shop where I had been waitressing for the summer. My parents had already left for work. Renee, my sister, was at school. I was watching for my ride when the phone rang. Hello? Hello, may I please speak to Danielle Gaudette? This is Danielle. The woman's voice on the other end sounded both bright and excited. She introduced herself as Anne Lowry and said, Danielle, I'm calling from the International Soundex Reunion Registry. I am very excited to tell you that I think we have found a match. Oh, what? My stomach dropped to my knees. My heart began to race. Anne continued, I need you to gather any and all of the papers you have regarding your biological parents. Any information you have at all, please go get it now. I need to check what you have against the information I have here. I'll hold. Okay. My head began to spin. Without any calculated thoughts, because I was suddenly incapable of making those, my body moved me briskly over to the dining room table, the only possible place where such papers might have been. When I had begun the search for my biological parents 8 months prior, my mother had said she would pull whatever she could from the safety deposit box to help me in my quest. However, I had never followed up. I suppose it was because half my brain was still in a pub somewhere outside the University College Galway. I rummaged through what looked like the Danielle pile, and there it was, not far from the top. Okay, I have it. Anne Lowry spoke kindly and carefully. Please tell me exactly what it says. Trembling, I began my recitation. Description of mother, white, Roman Catholic, Irish descent. What? I'm Irish? That's so weird. I was just in Ireland. Originally, I had not intended to go to Ireland. I had always planned to go to Spain, but when the time had come, I didn't feel confident enough with the language. I needed to go to an English-speaking country, but felt no affinity with the idea of studying in the UK. When I had thought of Ireland, however, my heart leapt, though I didn't know why. That's how I ended up there. I read on. 5 feet 5 inches tall, weight 110 pounds, dark brown hair, blue eyes, fair complexion. She is in good health, experienced an uneventful pregnancy. Mother attended college, majoring in drama, worked in summer theater, and presently is a star in a TV series. Her grandparents, maternal grandparents, are in their 50s, also in good health. Mother is second of 6 children. Yes, Anne said, good. And is there any information on the father? Description of father, white, Jewish Russian descent. Are you serious? I'm Russian? This took me by surprise even more, seeing that for no apparent reason, I was completely enthralled with Russian history and literature. During my freshman year at the University of New Hampshire, I had found myself unable to keep up with intermediate Spanish, yet I still needed to fulfill a language credit. Following a suggestion from my counselor, I had transferred to Russian Culture 101. From the very first class, I was enamored by the stories of the Russian people. After that, taking a Russian language, literature, or culture class every semester became a passion of mine. I continued. 6 foot tall, weighing 165 pounds, has a fair complexion, black eyes, black hair. He is in good health, no history of serious illness in his background. He is a college graduate, has a master's degree. He is employed as a theatrical director. Both natural mother and father surrendered child for adoption. Why I had never known this information about my heritage before that moment, I have no idea. My best guess is that my parents were so completely involved in our family's world, including the stress of my mother's illness, that it hadn't come up, and I never thought to press the subject. I took the information my parents had given me, that my birth mother had been an actress on a soap opera and was unable to care for me, and I didn't question it. Well, Danielle, Anne said, this all matches perfectly with the information we have here in front of us. Yes, we have found your biological mother. We're going to call her right now and let her know. I need you to stay by your phone. I'll call you right back. I began pacing around our apartment in a frenzied loop. Living room, kitchen, dining room, living room, kitchen, dining room. My heart was beating so fast, there was no way to be comfortably still. Even though it was daytime, I felt it was pitch black outside. I kept pacing to survive. The phone rang again. Breathless, I answered. Hello, Danielle. It's Anne again. I have very exciting news for you. We are all just so thrilled about it over here in the office. Do you watch Star Trek? Oh my God. No, 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 no. Please, no. Please don't give me drama right now. I can't take it. No drama. I need this to be normal. Please, God, just give me normal right now. I grabbed the countertop with my sweaty palms for fear that I was going to pass out. In that moment, as my anxiety skyrocketed, I desperately wished for my birth mother to be ordinary. I wished for her to be boring. I wished for her to be a plain woman living a common life, wearing an unadorned apron in her unembellished kitchen somewhere in suburbia. I admit, I had a habit of reacting dramatically to every little thing. I was emotionally sensitive, and often my responses to the world around me were blown into greater proportions than necessary. Plus, I was a 21-year-old, full of angst about the world and disenchanted with everything in it. Against the system, I guess you could call me that. I only liked trees, boys, and writing poems. Everything else was cause for suspicion. I did my best to respond to Miss Lowry with the least amount of sarcasm possible. No, I don't, I said, trying hard not to reveal that I had never even thought about watching such a show, never imagined that I would, didn't even pay much attention to television in general, and thought at that time of my life that it was all quite meaningless. Well, your biological mother's name is Kate Mulgrew. She is Captain Catherine Janeway on Star Trek Voyager. She is sitting in her trailer at Paramount right now, waiting for me to call her back. I want you to hang up your phone and wait for her. She's going to call you right now. Congratulations, Danielle. We are so happy for you. Holy shit. Not holy shit because my biological mother was some famous lady on a television show. Holy shit, because the woman who gave birth to me, who brought me into this world, whom I had wondered about in a faraway kind of someday place in my mind, was about to call me. It was actually happening right now. There was no more time to think about it, no more time to figure it out. There was not even anyone there to hold my hand. It felt like a ball was hurtling at my face, and I suddenly wasn't sure if I was capable of catching it. The fact that she was currently on a popular television show just made it all the more unbearably dramatic. The unconscious trauma in my brain that is being given up for adoption was now exposed. For Kate Mulgrew, the mother who had to give her baby away, it must have been equally as traumatic. This phone call was yanking the covers off a trauma that had been buried in a deep place inside of both of us. Now, there is a funny thing about trauma. It really messes with the brain. It inserts blankness in places where there should be memories and rewrites the details of stories in twisted and contorted ways. So according to Kate, it was I who called her on this day. But in my mind, it was she who called me. We have discussed this several times since and have concluded that we were both suffering a kind of brain damage at that time. Either of us could be right or wrong, and it absolutely makes not one bit of difference. What's important is that this was the moment that came too quickly. I was not prepared. I thought I would be searching for years, but this ultimate moment had been sent down a chute, crashing into me right then and there, and all I could do was let it. My legs were trembling. My body grew weak. There was a no place to go calm that came over me. I sat down. The phone rang one more time. I didn't know if I was breathing or not. I pressed the talk button with my cold, wet index finger, knowing that the person on the other end would be someone whom I had never met, a complete and total stranger. Yet somehow, some way, this was the person I was to call my mother. That's it. Thank you.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
So it was that anxiety that unraveled that day kind of drove me crazy for the next long, long time. Now, the conversation I had with her was very short. And the next chapter is like a paragraph. It was very interesting. She asked me some questions, and another interesting coincidence that was revealed was that, she grew up in Iowa, just like 20 minutes away from my campus. So she kept asking me, why are you at the University of Iowa? What are you doing in Iowa? Her family grew up, her family had a big farm 20 minutes outside, like in Dubuque, Iowa. So that was another huge coincidence. I was just sort of, and then she said she was coming. She asked me if she could meet me. And then she said she was coming in 4 days. So I didn't eat any food and just had diarrhea for 4 days. And it all began from there. The unraveling already had begun. And it took a long time to put myself back together again. But yeah, that was the story. And then she came, and then I went to LA later that summer to meet with her and her sons and her ex-husband and her friends and her co-workers. And I went to Paramount, and it was just like the door opened so wide and so many people came, and I was so confused. I was so confused because I had so much loyalty to my mother and father. And I was like, who are these people and what is happening to my life? So it was a big unraveling that took a long time, and which is really what leads to the book, because that's where I found Body and Brain. I needed something to start to basically reconnect with myself. I was so lost in it all. I was lost in her. I was lost in them, my half brothers that I met. I was lost in guilt towards my father and my mother and my sister. I was like lost. I was just way outside of my body. And so I found a practice where I could do this kind of yoga, Tai Chi, but it's really energy training to help me reconnect back with myself and rediscover my true self, who I really am. And so then I really, really got a lot of benefit from it, became a practitioner and then a teacher and then a trainer. And I've been doing that for 22 years now. And in 2015, my biological mother wrote her memoir. And then after that, I really wanted to, a lot of people started to try to connect to me. So I wanted to be able to write and share my heart with them. So I started my blog, and then through the blog, I got inspired for the book. And so the book is like half my memoir and half the practice that has helped me that I wanted to share with the world. So that leads me to this moment, Marcie. That's the whole story.
Yeah. Congratulations on the accomplishment of writing a book. It's a huge hurdle, and it's a great time for you. And yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been
So
amazing.
I want to back up just a little bit. I want to know a little bit more about the Russian connection. Tell us a lot about that. I'd like to learn more about that.
Well, I don't know if I really understand it, but I was so like psyched at that time of my life, because I don't know, I found myself in these Russian culture classes just drinking in. I was just intrigued by the literature, the authors, the stories I heard. I don't know what it was. I don't know why it was so intriguing. There was just something kind of mysterious and magical and a little dark and a little just like deep. That's like me, and that's the things I like in a nutshell.
This isn't Kate's fluent in Russian, isn't she?
Well, that's all so funny, right? So she's not fluent in Russian, but that's really coincidental and funny that she played in
She
Orange.
plays Russian, and she does Russian. Yeah.
Yeah, so she played the Russian in Orange is the New Black, Red. So she had to speak some Russian and obviously do the Russian accent. She's not Russian though. He is, of my birth father's side. It all came, they're like 100% Russian, and she's like 100% Irish. Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. 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 It's very interesting. And then, of course, after I met her, I started to hear her side of the story. So now like the whole story is kind of woven in my mind together, which was that she was also looking for me, which is why the door, I think, opened so easily. She was looking for me from shortly after I was born, and they kept telling her, it's a closed adoption. We can't tell you anything unless she dies. She is still, yeah.
And you were born what year?
1977.
Okay. So does everybody remember the soap opera Ryan's Hope? She was on Ryan's Hope back in the 70s, because I remember sitting watching her then.
Yeah, I was in her womb on Ryan's Hope. Ryan's Hope is the reason why, is really the reason why she gave me up for adoption, because she had moved from Iowa, right? She had broken out of her small town. She had moved to New York, and she'd been there for a few years trying to, get her big break. And then she got on to Ryan's Hope. And then very shortly after that, she got pregnant. And then the woman, Claire Labine, I think her name is, wrote the pregnancy of the character Mary Ryan into the show. which is what Kate talks about in her memoir as being really hard for her when she actually had to give birth on the show and like hold her baby and have a whole monologue. And that was her unraveling.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's what happened. She was looking for me out. And then when I started looking for her, the woman, the nun from the Catholic Charity Bureau who kept telling her, I can't give you any information, I can't help you. One day she came to New York for an event and she saw this nun at this fundraiser. And she asked her again. And at that moment is when the nun said, okay, listen, I'm going to tell you something. She's looking for you now. That was the turning point. She said, I can't do anything, but I'm going to put the brochure at your hotel at the desk. I'm going to send it in the mail to her. It's in your hands. And so that's why it was really fast, overwhelmingly fast to reconnect with her. Yeah.
And what about siblings?
Yeah. So on her side, there's two half brothers, younger than me, about 6 and 7 years younger than me. And then on his side, interestingly, he was married before he met Kate. So in his marriage, he had a son. So I have an older half brother. And then in his current marriage, they adopted a child. They couldn't get pregnant, so they adopted a child. So I have a younger half brother who is adopted. Yeah, wow, right? It's very interesting. So all these people started, coming into my life, and I met many, many new humans over the course of 1 year. And it was very interesting. Yeah, it was very interesting, especially with the Kate sons. It was very tender. I wrote about that in the book too, just going out there and feeling like they kind of were like, oh, they always knew they had a sister out there. Like Kate had talked about it with them. So I was like their ghost sister. And it just was so hard for me to wrap my mind around. I'm a pretty sincere person. I wanted to be true for all of them, but I felt like I couldn't be true because I would be betraying my family. That was my internal conflict when I met my biological family. I had a huge internal conflict of guilt and shame towards my adopted family, even though they completely supported me. It was hard. It was hard for my mother, who's not, who's mentally struggled anyway, but she supported me. It was my own turmoil and conflict in my mind. Yeah, I don't know if others have experienced that. So I've heard a lot of stories, but that was how I experienced it.
I think there are many adoptees that have had that experience. And you're welcome to use that chat bar, anyone that would like to share if they felt the same way. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the passage.
That was beautifully written.
Thank you.
Great job. Great job.
Thank you so much.
Tell us where you are today. Now you've got your book published, you're in reunion, you have siblings, and
yes. Well, yes, I've been in reunion for a long time. So it's been 24 years of integrating these people into my life, finding the way to make the relationship work. What is the relationship? Still figuring it out, but it seems that we have struck some semblance of a balance, a harmony. I chat with them and I see her. I previously tried to see her once a year. It kind of fell off with COVID and everything the last few years. And I stay connected with them. Yeah, I want to have a loving, healing, embracing relationship. My side of things is always dealing with my abandonment and rejection trauma and issues. And those issues flare up in two places, my relationship with her and my relationships with men. So it's like a flare up that I have to work on. So for the past 20 years, I've been doing a lot of inner training and healing to work on that pain. I'm still teaching, training, practicing. The book is just another extension of me wanting to share basically the process of coming back to myself, connecting with my body, connecting with my heart, learning tools for how to love myself and how to forgive my own self, because I realized along the way that I did not love myself at all. And that at some moment I realized I was a person I had to forgive first because I was so hard on myself. So it was just so amazing to have those healing transformations. So I've just been sharing, I continue to share with teaching classes and workshops to many different students. And with the book now, just, you know, connecting even beyond the walls of the Body and Brain Center to different adoption communities or anywhere that is, you know, talking about these stories of healing and forgiveness. And really, my book is intended to be a story of hope, because I found hope inside in a very dark place.
Yes.
So that was the story. Yeah. So I'm still on that journey, and I'm enjoying to share it with people.
And we're so glad you did. We're so glad you're here this evening to share it with us.
Thank you.
Lori is asking a question in the chat room about how long it took you to write the book.
Oh, yes. Oh, that, well, I was lucky that I had the blog. The blog I'd been writing since 2015. So I had all those blog posts. The beginning, especially the beginning post, is a lot about my life. And then the later post was more about kind of my teachings or like stories, messages, awakenings. But right when COVID hit, prior to COVID, my schedule was very, very busy. I didn't have any space to write a book, even though I had it in my mind as a dream for maybe like 10 years. But right when COVID hit, I felt, okay, I'm going to take this as a sign from the universe. And so I suddenly couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't go to the center. I couldn't do my usual schedule. So I started writing from March 2020. And then I published the book May 4th of this year. So basically two years and 2 months. But the book started because I just copied and pasted the whole blog onto a Word document. And then I just started sifting through it. I kept some of the, you know, memoir stories, and then I started filling in the missing pieces. So having the blog made it much easier to write. But I can tell you that the writing and then the rewriting and editing of the story again and again, eternally, it felt like, was really healing too. To go back through and process all of that again and again. I realized many things, through that, that helped me kind of integrate the whole experience a little bit more.
Now, Danielle, tell us, in your practice, did you meet a lot of adoptees that came in and looking for your assistance?
No, I've met a few. I met a couple of adoptees and a few adopted parents. Sometimes I feel adoptive parents are looking for my assistance even more because they want to know what it feels like or what I'm going through or what I went through or how I have come to understand my own pain. I feel like the more I understand it, the less I have to act it out. So, and the easier I can articulate it and express it. So the adoptive parents, I feel like I have helped over the years, even including my birth father's wife, who whenever I visit them, she's like picking my brain about being adopted because she's trying to understand her own son and what she goes through. Yeah, as an adoptive mother. So it's kind of a precious when I do meet when I cross paths with an adoptee or someone in the triad. It's like a precious connection at that time. But I have not found too many, just a few. I just work mostly, these are kind of universal teachings mostly in general. Yeah. Most people understand the pain, right? Everyone has a little slightly different pain, but once we tap into the pain, everyone is understanding how much work that they need to do for healing their heart. So it's been more universal.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. You can like copy and paste them onto a Word document and just keep accumulating it. To be honest with you, I took a lot of like little mini writing courses and free seminars and things like that, trying to get myself going. And I didn't follow hardly any of their advice. It was very hard to write an outline and all these things they recommend. That was hard for me. Having the blog as my base made it so much easier. It was like artwork to kind of just read through and start to cut, paste, right? Edit, delete. That became joyful in and of itself. And then it also revealed to me what was the missing piece. And so that's where like deeper writing began. So yeah, I totally recommend if you have Facebook pages, blog, journal entries, you can, and you want to write a memoir, you can base off of that for sure. Yeah, I see there's another here. Yeah, yeah. Burned in a fire. I felt like Orphan Annie. That's what I wrote in a different chapter when they told me my files were burned in a fire.
I do have a direct message from the audience asking how you resemble your parents. Does it feel good to mirror?
Yeah. So, yep. That's kind of the, you know, in the future chapters, I talk about like, oh, there it is. I kind of got what I was looking for. So I would say physically, I really sort of analyzed it. I don't know if all of you, some of you the same as me, but I sort of really analyzed where did I come from, because I was wondering for so long. So I think my birth mother, I have similar features, like a shape of her face and nose and eye, like shapes, and kind of at that time, like fair skinned, kind of freckly. This is similar, but from my birth father, he's the one with the like dark curly hair, very dark brown eyes, and many, you know, it's a funny story when I met Kate, because she's very small and petite. At that time, we didn't look, I didn't feel any connection to our physically, our like body shape. But later, much later, I went to a wedding on my birth father's side. I was invited to my older half brother's wedding, and they put me at the table with all like the cousins on that side, and I was like, oh, this is a Russian body. I see. This is where I came from. So that was fun too. It's been interesting to meet cousins. I've met a few cousins, and there's more connections, more similarities that I see.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, as we're winding down the hour, we're going to go ahead and stop the recording at this point and open it up to a Q&A. So let me go ahead and do that. Jennifer, are you still here? Okay. All righty, let's go ahead then and open it up to a Q&A. I know I've got another one. Let's see here. I've got some direct messages here. Let's see. Bruce is asking, Danielle, can you describe the brain body practice that you do and teach? Do you teach only in person or other remote sessions as well?
Yeah, sure. So it's kind of considered a yoga, but it's not exactly yoga. It's energy exercise. So we are doing all kinds of training, whether it's similar to yoga in that there's a lot of deep stretching, breathing, there's some meditation. There's also this element of energy exercise, body tapping, vibration exercise, all of this, which helps us connect inward and release deep tension inside, and then helps us to just kind of travel inward, be able to purify and let go of any like heavy, stuck, negative energies that help us physically, that supports us physically, but also and for me, hugely supported me emotionally, because all that energy, like emotions are just energy, basically. So we're learning about emotion, we're learning about the mind-body connection through body and brain, and it just kind of goes deeper and deeper in that process. And actually, since COVID started, I started working online. And then the centers reopened back up, but I changed my position. So I have instructors at the centers, but I manage the whole region now. I got a different job. So my point is, I'm actually all completely online right now. So I'm doing everything remotely through Zoom. I'm finding the way to share. And again, for 16 years, I ran centers. I worked very closely in person with members and students, one-on-one, group, weekend workshops, all kinds of things. But now I'm finding the way to share those things through Zoom. So I'm actually opening up more classes and training through Zoom. Yeah, it's very easy to do through Zoom in the comfort of your own home, because body and brain is quite simple. It's just really about training how to bring your mind back to your body and improve your circulation, and through that, like, release the heavy things that we are holding on to. So for me, it was a huge, it was a kind of a miracle, because I did not know how to manage my emotion at all, period. And I was overwhelmed by it, and I was terrified by it. So learning this kind of was like, oh, this is like the science of emotion. Like, it just flows through my body as energy, and this is how I can let it go. This is how I can move through it. That was like a big step in healing for me. Yeah.
Thanks, Danielle. And so it sounds like the practice kind of pulls from a lot of different traditions, and just kind of integrates them all together. Is that kind of how it is? Like EFT and yoga and maybe even Qigong or Tai Chi?
Yeah, so it's rooted in an ancient Asian practice called Shinsan-do. That's its origin. But yes, you are right. Over the years, I've just been teaching this, but learning through so many students and also checking out different modalities. Yeah, you can compare it to kind of a Qigong, because there's the energy element. EFT, because there's the emotional processing, and EFT is using the acupressure points, which we are completely focusing on the acupressure points, but we're focusing on like the whole body meridian channels. We do body tapping, like whole body tapping, rather than just the face. So there's many connections. Yeah.
Okay, it sounds fascinating. I'm always looking for new modalities, because as I go deeper into the wound, I realize, and I did a bunch of talk therapy early on, and of course that doesn't get anywhere near it. And it's very energy, based and somatic, and that's what I need to do in order to get underneath it. And so, I've had a longstanding practice of Qigong, and do body-based therapy, and recently discovered holotropic breath work, which has been really powerful and brings me like right to that wound. It's amazing how quickly, when I'm doing that kind of work, I'm just immediately in that grief, and that, because I totally identified with what you said about how that wound, or that relinquishment wound, just brings up a lot of self-hate.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of calling this space non-negotiable unlovability, because it feels completely non-negotiable, like a wall. And I know it's not, but I just need to find the right practices to kind of break through it bit by bit, and open it up. Anyway, I'm going to get your book, because it sounds really intriguing, and the chapter that you read was really amazing. So and thanks for your presentation today. It was great.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, and you can learn more about it through the book, or if you want to connect with me, reach out to me. I can always give you information where to find out if you want to utilize it for anything. Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce. And that brings up another question. Jan's asking, what is the best way to contact you about your sessions?
Yeah. I think you're welcome to email me if you like. It's just, I can type it in the chat box, but it's just Danielle. Well, it's just my name, Danielle Gaudette at hotmail.com. I also have I started, after publishing my book, a Facebook page called Healing Tree, a space for self-forgiveness and self-love. So you're also welcome to reach out to me there. You can easily find me there.
And the book is on Amazon, correct?
The book is on Amazon. And the book is also, I think someone dropped a link to my website at the beginning. Maybe it was Jennifer. And you can read more about the book on my website. You can also see the blog. You can also see some videos where I'm doing exercises. Yeah, ironically, in 2012, I went on a trip to Sedona and they asked me if I could record some videos of some basic body and brain exercises. So I was fortunate to have all of those and be able to throw them up there on my website for people who are finding my stuff and have questions. That you can also find all of that on that website. Yeah.
Danielle, is there an exercise that comes to mind right now that that you could do with us?
I'm so happy that you asked that, Marcie. Sure. Okay, let me just answer to Shelley here. It's called Healing Tree, which is the name of my book. And then a space for self-love and self-forgiveness, or vice versa. Space for self-love and self-forgiveness. Yeah, so I would love to share one exercise that I think would be the simplest and easiest one that we can do here right now. And one that I actually included in the book because it was hugely profound for me, which was just connecting to energy. And like Bruce, for those of you who have done Qigong or you already know energy, this will be like an easy, simple one to you. But for me, coming back to the basics is always where I find myself again, because when we feel energy, we can ride the energy and like connect back to the present moment. So when we're really scattered in our heads, we can easily get there through feeling energy. So that's what we'll do. I'll lead a little one for you right now. Super easy. Just put your fingertips together and tap them. Okay, we're going to warm ourselves up. I recommend, if possible, to straighten your spine so that you're not really kind of leaning. When the spine is straight, it's helpful to feel. And also, like when your elbows aren't necessarily leaning on anything, it's easier to feel as well. So just tapping, and you can close your eyes for a moment as we even warm up and breathe out. And just relax and try to feel the sensation of your fingertips as you're tapping, 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 tapping. Good. You might hear a noise, loud noise. You're getting all the blood to your fingertips. The energy flows through the blood and oxygen in your body. Tap a little harder, a little faster. Get your focus there on your fingertips. Very good. All right, and when you're ready, you can stop the tapping and move your hands apart. And let them open a little wider and then bring them closer together, but don't touch your palms again. So now you're just relaxing your shoulders and comfortably moving your hands out and in, expanding and contracting. And try to feel the sensation on your palms. Just be aware of the sensation on your fingers and palms or between your hands. Whatever you sense, fully focus on that feeling. Very good. And now slowly, slowly move your hands back down to your knees. And just try to feel your body, even down to your lower abdomen. Just settle back into the feeling of your body. Take a deep breath in. Gently breathe out. Long exhale, letting go. Okay, 2 more of those. Deep breath in. Feel your body. Gently breathe out. Long exhale. Relax. Relax your body and mind as much as you can. 1 more deep breath in. And exhale. Okay, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Yeah, did you feel energy in your palms? Anyone? Yeah? Great, great. What did you feel, Marcie? Did you notice anything?
A lot of tingling.
Tingling, yeah. Tingling, hot, warm. Yeah. All kinds of sensations. The key point is when we feel it, okay, numbness. Yeah, there's like 100 different ways to feel energy. It can be like air or magnetism. But anyway, when you feel it at that moment, your mind and body are coming together and your brainwaves naturally quieting down. So after I learned this exercise, like in my initial class, I literally was doing it everywhere I went. I would be at work, like under the table, doing it between my hands. I just wanted to get in that space because in that space, everything was centered and clear. And outside of that space, I was a crazy person, 100% stressed. I couldn't manage my thinking, my negative thinking, my anxiety levels, my worry. I think I worried 24 hours a day, even in my sleep. So this helped quiet everything for me. So that's one of my favorites, Marcie. Thanks for asking.
You're quite welcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, do we have some more questions for Danielle? Does anybody want to raise their virtual hand or come off of mute? Any more questions? So we know how to find you. We know how to get the book. We know how to quiet our mind now. And your presentation was great.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here and connect with you.
Okay, so what we like to do at this time, we want to always give our signature round of applause for Danielle. Everybody get their hands up and applause for Danielle for her wonderful presentation this evening. We just loved it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. Yeah, that's all for me. We don't have any, we did all our announcements earlier. Mimi's going to be with us next Friday. Mimi, for those that don't know you, raise your hand, and she'll be joining us as our spotlight guest next Friday. So you'll want to make sure that you sign up. The Eventbrite invitation, Jennifer's already sent that out, so you can go ahead and register to join us next Friday. As always, we appreciate each and every one of you that join us every Friday night. We know this is summertime, kids are going back to school, and we just really appreciate your consistency and joining us. And we just glad to have Danielle on and hear her story, her book, and about her practice. And we just wish you all the best of luck.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Marcie. And thank you everyone for coming. And I really wish all of you the best on your healing journey.
Okay. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Good night.
Just hang with me for just a second. Okay, so there you go. Wasn't that great?
Yeah, it was so great. Thank you so much. You're so
you are a natural. Everybody related to your story. It's oh, well, somebody's saying they're holding their phone and they're clapping at the same time. That was sweet. Yeah, yeah, you're going to get probably might get some clients from this as well.
Yeah, that was unexpected and nice to hear. I always kind of have that wish if, people are looking, people who are, struggling with the same things I've struggled with and looking for something, if it could be of help for them, then why do I need to keep that to myself, right? And that's why I shared. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to you, Marcie, because it's not always easy. It's like awkward to be like, hi, I wrote a book. You want to like help me, or can we talk? Or I was so thankful that you were so open.
Oh, it was very natural. It was very, obviously authentic, and it just flowed. I think that's the thing, when you're authentic and you get real, there's just a natural flow to it. And obviously people responded, and Bruce is one of our regulars. He's here every Friday night, and
That's awesome.
they're engaged, and yeah, a lot of people will watch the replay. And layout was nice the way you handled that too with the reading, and so that sparked the interest.
Yeah.
And then doing the exercise, I think, was a great way to close the evening. So
Yeah, I was glad that you asked that. I was thinking that earlier, like, oh, if I could do an exercise, it would be this one. But I was also happy because sometimes when I do the reading, I worry that I've lost them, but they seemed pretty engaged.
No,
they were there with me.
They were pretty engaged. So
yeah,
just great job. And it's just a pleasure to meet you. And I want us to stay in touch. Obviously, I'd like to know how you're doing, how reunion is going. I want you to also consider possibly doing a workshop at a future conference with NAP.
Yeah.
Have you?
I would love that. How does that work? So you have how many conferences a year?
We do an annual conference in Indianapolis. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Now, we didn't do one this year because we're doing the summit with this other organization that is huge in 2023.
Oh.
So we decided to do, that's why we call it mini meetup. So we're meeting at a state park, which is this really affluent. I say state park and you think of picnic tables, but it's not. It's this fancy hotel, and but we wanted it to get a different feel from a conference, and that it's a place, for adoptees and their families to come and just relax and connect. They could bring their families. And then we have, it's $95 for a day and a half. It's priced very reasonable. So, and we're kind of like, it's regional. So it may be just people that live, in the tri-state area, or, Illinois, Northern Michigan, places like that. But our conferences, we're very well known for our holding conferences. We've been doing it since 2016. And we get 2 keynotes. We do a Friday morning keynote and we do a Saturday keynote. And then between that, we have all these workshops, anything from, we've done writing workshops. We have author tables. We do a Friday night entertainment. They'll do any kind of workshop pertaining to loss or trauma, identity, DNA. We have first mother. So, I presented before on, about reunion and just all kinds of things. And then we, obviously we share meals together, and then we break up into support groups, and, some of the experts in the field come to our conferences. And last year, the last conference, we had 161.
Wow.
And they just keep getting bigger. And we represent different countries now. They're coming from South America and Canada.
Wow.
So you're definitely a fit for a future conference. So
I would love that. I love teaching, Yeah.
Yes, you're a definite fit for that. And we've never had anyone like you. So you could do an author table and do book signings, as well as do a workshop. I'm definitely going to recommend you for that. You may want to present at the summit. Like I said, that is our organization with Right to Know. That, again, that might be something that's in Louisville in March of 2023.
And then how would I have that, like, who would I contact to find out more about presenting?
That would be Untangling Our Roots on Facebook. There's a
Okay.
Facebook page there. And then you
Okay.
can read about it, and there's a portal if you did want to present. I personally am a little bit selfish and want to keep you for our conference and not introduce you in Louisville, but I don't want you to have to wait that long because people need you. They need to hear your story. They need to know about the work that you do because it can help them. That's why I was asking if, a lot of adoptees, they haven't heard of this. And this is going to be something that they're going to want.
Right. I feel that it can help, incorporate. I see sometimes on the posts and stuff, people, how do I connect with myself? How do I? And I'm like, oh, how can I share more? So I love any idea of any opportunity to be able to share.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you might want to check that out, and you know how to get a hold of me.
Okay.
So, any questions I can answer, and I would definitely recommend you, but I just really enjoyed meeting you. You're just a true blessing.
Thank you, Marcie.
Excited to add you to our community, and we'll, we've got a newsletter we've got to get ready, and you could write an article for our newsletter. But yeah, let's definitely stay in touch. Please follow us on Facebook so you can stay in the loop. And see how things are going. Okay.
Yeah, I will. So is that the best way for me to stay in the loop with you all? Or like, am I on your mailing list? Can I get
mailing list too? So you'll get invitations to all the future happy hours, and when we make an announcement, it'll go out.
Okay, that's good. I want to keep knowing all that stuff. So when I can, participate, I would love to. And yeah, so when is it? I mean, definitely keep me in mind. So you're skipping 2023, your conference? Is that what you're saying?
We're just doing the mini meetup in September of this year.
Yes.
2023, we're doing the big one.
The summit.
We're thinking we might have our own conference, but I don't know, because this one's going to be over the top.
I see.
So, I mean, they're just, we started out, our very first conference, we had 120 people. And then it kind of, we grew it every year to 161. That's just us.
Yeah.
But this other community, the donor conceived MPE community is going bonkers. And the reason why we're coming together is the adoption community has been doing the work, the adoptee rights and changing the laws. And so working with legislators for 40 years. So the MPE community, they didn't want to recreate the wheel because they're having legislative issues too, and they're finding out who they are, and a lot of them want their original birth name, and then there's so much fraud. They're finding out that they've, somebody's got 75 brothers and sisters, and the doctors in semen were using their semen, and are all finding out late in life that their daddies aren't daddy. And how they were conceived was a lie. And there's so much loss and trauma surrounding that. So what we thought was going to be a smaller, maybe a joint, but it's coming off the charts.
Oh, wow.
We're going to sell out.
Wow.
We are going to sell out because nobody's done this. And it's going to be we've got the media involved, and there's going to be some TV interviews and radio. And
wow.
So, I mean, it's just a really big deal.
It's awesome. So, good for you, Marcie. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But like I said, and I say this to everybody, when it comes to NAP and it comes to happy hour and it comes to me having this conversation with you tonight is a result of rediscovering my shoebox in my closet in the fall of 2007. And what I find in it opens the door to take me into my own past, back to my first love, back to my daughter, and reunion and the adoption community. And then when I realized the truth, the real hard truth, the dark side of adoption, which is not very pretty, that's why I'm here every Friday night for 2.5 years at 7 o'clock. But it's all because of that little shoebox. And I think that is mind blowing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Your story is always in my heart.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yours
yeah,
as
it's
well.
amazing.
So on that note, I will let you go and I want you to enjoy your weekend.
Thank
need
you
me,
so much.
Talk to me, okay?
Okay,
All
I
right,
will be in
sweetie.
touch. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.